Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Concept Class. Today, we begin one of the most inspiring chapters of modern Indian history: factors leading to the growth of nationalism. Nationalism is not just a political movement, it's an emotional and intellectual awakening. It's that deep realization among people that they share a common heritage, a common language, and a common future. For India, this feeling didn't emerge overnight. It grew slowly over the 19th century as people from different regions began to feel the need to unite against colonial rule. Through today's lesson, we'll explore how political, economic, social, and cultural changes, both within and outside India, gradually led to this awakening. In this chapter, we'll see how different forces work together, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not, to create a sense of Indian unity. British rule, though exploitative, also brought administrative unification. Western education and modern communication helped Indians think collectively. The reform movements gave moral courage, and the press gave a voice to the people. We'll connect these threads to understand how nationalism became a powerful current by the late 19th century. Let's first understand what nationalism means. It's the spirit that binds people together, not just by geography, but by emotion and purpose. In India, for centuries, people lived in diverse kingdoms and spoke many languages. Yet, under British rule, they began to see themselves as one nation. When Indians realized that their common enemy was colonial exploitation and their common dream was freedom, that's when nationalism truly began to take shape. Before the British, India was a mosaic of princely states and kingdoms. Ironically, the British were the first to bring the entire subcontinent under one administrative system. They introduced a single legal code, an all India civil service, and systems of communication like the railway and the telegraph. These tools, though meant to strengthen colonial control, actually brought Indians closer together. People could now travel, communicate, and share ideas across regions. This created, for the first time, a sense of political unity and a common identity among Indians. British economic policies were designed to benefit Britain, not India. They turned India into a supplier of raw materials and a consumer of British goods. Traditional handicraft industries, especially textiles, were crushed under the weight of British imports. Farmers were burdened with unbearable land taxes, leading to poverty and frequent famines. And the wealth produced by Indian labor flowed straight to England, what Dadabhai Nauroji famously called the drain of wealth. Educated Indians began to realize that their poverty was not natural, it was caused by exploitation. This realization gave birth to economic nationalism, the belief that India needed to control its own economy to achieve freedom. In the 19th century, India saw a wave of reform movements that transformed society. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, through the Brahmo Samaj, campaigned against sati and for women's education. Swami Dayanand Saraswati's Arya Samaj called for a return to the pure values of the Vedas. Swami Vivekananda inspired youth, with his message of strength and service to the nation. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, through the Aligarh movement, encouraged Muslims to embrace modern education. These reformers gave Indians a sense of moral purpose and pride in their culture. They reminded everyone that Indian civilization was ancient and noble, and that it could stand shoulder to shoulder with the West. This moral awakening was a crucial foundation for the growth of nationalism. The British introduced Western style education to train clerks for their administration, but it produced thinkers instead. Indian students studied European history and political philosophy. They read about liberty, equality, and self government ideas from the American and French revolutions. This educated middle class began to question the hypocrisy of British rule. If freedom is good for Britain, why not for India? They formed the backbone of early nationalist movements, writing books, forming associations, and raising political demands. The Indian press played a revolutionary role. Newspapers like the Hindu, Kesari, Amrita Bazar Patrika, and Bengali became the voice of the people. They exposed the injustices of British rule, criticized unfair laws, and reported on peasant struggles and famines. They reached readers across provinces, spreading political awareness even in remote villages. Through fiery editorials, the press united people with common thoughts and national emotion. British officials feared these papers because they could not silence an awakened public mind. During the colonial period, British rulers often called Indian culture backward. In response, Indian scholars and leaders rediscovered the brilliance of India's past. Western Indologists like Max Muller translated the Vedas Upanishads, proving India's deep philosophical heritage. Leaders like Swami Vivekananda and Rabindranath Tagore revived Indian art, music, and philosophy, reminding people of their cultural greatness. This cultural pride became the emotional backbone of nationalism, giving people faith that they could rule themselves once again. World events inspired Indians to believe in freedom and unity. The American and French revolutions taught that people had the right to rule themselves. The unification of Italy and Germany showed that divided people could unite under a common cause. And when Japan defeated Russia in 1905, it shattered the myth of European superiority. Indians began to feel if Japan, an Asian nation, could become powerful, why not India? The late 19th century saw the birth of organized political activity. Regional groups like the Bombay Presidency Association, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, and Indian Association began raising political issues. They demanded Indian representation, better education, and administrative reforms. Finally, in 1885, Alan Octavian Hume helped form the Indian National Congress, uniting Indians from all regions under one political platform. This was a historic milestone, the formal birth of India's national movement. The early national leaders, often called the moderates, worked with patience and logic. Dadabhai Naoroji analyzed economic exploitation in his famous drain theory. Surendranath Banerjee spread political awareness through speeches and education. Gopal Krishna Gokhale guided the youth with his ideals of moral politics and self rule. They were the pioneers, sowing the seeds of nationalism that later blossomed into a mass movement. To summarize, many forces, some oppressive, some awakening, came together to shape Indian nationalism. British political unity gave Indians a framework, economic exploitation gave them reason to resist, education and the press gave them awareness, reform movements gave them courage, and world events gave them inspiration. Together, these currents flowed into one great river, the national movement for freedom. The rise of nationalism changed how Indians saw themselves. No longer were they simply subjects of a foreign empire. They were citizens of a nation in the making. This growing unity and confidence formed the foundation of the great freedom struggle that would follow. In conclusion, nationalism was the heartbeat of India's rebirth. It united people across languages, religions, and regions. It began as an idea and grew into a movement that changed history. As we study this chapter, remember, freedom did not come overnight. It was the result of decades of awakening, sacrifice, and the belief that India belongs to Indians. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed our journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel for more videos.